Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. This is the Choppin' It Up Show, brought to you by the Marching Podcast and Blog Talk Radio. I'm your official Marching Podcast announcer, David Thompson, and here's your host, the Phantom Podcaster himself, Joe Beard.
Good evening and welcome to Choppin' It Up. I am your host, Joe Beard, and happy to be of service for you tonight. Today is June 18th, 2013, 6 o'clock on the West Coast and 9 o'clock on the East Coast. This is the new time slot for the Choppin' It Up show, so we appreciate those people who are up awake on the East Coast listening live. At the end of this broadcast, if you decide that you like the show, then we appreciate a donation to the network if you feel so in your heart, of course. Simply go to themarchingpodcast.com and click on the donate button to improve the show and to build our scholarship fund. Tonight, we chop it up with Curtis Tarver. I met Curtis over Twitter. And again, I just want to say that, you know, it's really fortunate that I'm fortunate, and it's great to have met someone because of this podcast. You know, I've chopped it up with some people, and you know, I've met some people over the internet, and it's been really a growing experience for me. You know, just meeting new friends and just touching base with new contacts, and it's a blessing. You know, so. Curtis is one of those people, and, you know, we're fortunate to hear from him tonight. We chopped it up with Christine Hansman of Halftime Mag and Tim Hinton of the Marching Roundtable. And on Twitter, we looked because, you know, I always look every day for mentions and just trying to get the network going. It was hashtag FF Marching Podcast, a recent discovery in the marching media world. Recent interviews with Halftime Mag and Marching Roundtable were great. So when I read this, I was like, whoa, like who is that, right? And I was really excited. It was my first like Twitter revelation that I had reached someone, and I was touched, you know. So I went onto the account and found the blog 80 Minutes of Regulation and 60 minutes of college football plus 20 minutes allotted for halftime. So I was like, whoa, like, hold up now. So I actually dug deeper, and I'll go ahead and read his mission statement here. It seeks to provide opinion and reaction to news and sports and marching and athletic music. The mission statement is through 80 minutes of regulation, the blog, Twitter, Facebook, and Google+. He also has a podcast on the iTunes Store. But 80 Minutes of Regulation will provide insight that other outlets covering these topics may not, including amplifying information related to the lesser-covered topic of marching athletic music. 80 Minutes of Regulation will be at best when drawing parallels between occurrences in sports and marching athletic music that outlets specifying in one area or the other would likely miss. So to make a long story short, you know, I met Curtis and read his blog and instantly made a connection with someone who had the same love for bands. But with Curtis is special because, you know, it's a really intelligent guy. You know, he's writing the articles, but, you know, he closes the gap for me for the PWI marching bands. And when I say PWI, when people say that, they're saying predominantly white institutions, or you may hear PWC for predominantly white colleges. I'm not as well versed in the SEC or any of those conferences, but Curtis is essentially doing what I'm doing, but with his background and his experiences, and he's been doing it longer than I have. He's been doing it before me, so you know, of course, showing off his writing skills as well with the blog. So it's great to just meet someone. So today I've been retweeting some of our conversations back from last year, including an article that he wrote. Just another, I think we talked about it in the interview, but we were talking about, he had an article about the Honda being the alternative for the Pro Bowl. definitely something that makes you say, for real. But I mean, I think we talk about it in the interview, like I said. But it was just great to meet him, and looking forward to working with him in the future to maybe cover some more martial arts. And I'm certain that we'll interview him again for some of the articles he writes on his blog. So this will be a podcast, but we're now accepting calls at 718-664-6025. You can email the show at marchingpodcast@gmail.com. Tweet us at Marching Podcast, or follow our blog, blog4.themarchingpodcast.com. Let's take the time to hear from our great sponsors. Tonight's show is brought to you by Liquid Effects Photography, Block Band Music, bandhead.org, and Universal Credit Sources, and Big Deal Fundraising. So let's take the time to hear from them now.
What if there was a Facebook for bands? Wait a minute, there is. Bandhead.org. Bandhead.org is a social network for HBCU show bands. You can create your own profile and post videos, photos, and comments on bandhead.org. Need somewhere to post events, audition schedules, job postings? Check out bandhead.org. Are you recruiting for talent? Go to bandhead.org. And coming this fall, hbcubands.com. Write that down, hbcubands.com. Attention high school directors and alumni. Does your band need to raise money to travel, buy instruments, or uniforms? Are you looking to raise money to help your band? Well, Big Deal Fundraising is rapidly becoming one of the largest distributors of fundraising products in the industry. Big Deal is based in New York City and ships anywhere in the United States, offering quality products, fast delivery, and innovative consultation that will help you meet your fundraising goals. Call today at 855-244-4430 or visit us at BigDealFundraisingUSA.com. Big Deal Fundraising, your fundraising partner for your band or music ensemble. Block Band is a minority-owned music business that you can think of as your assistant band director. We help grow your musicians with a great selection of traditional concert band music. Then we back up their performance with necessities like reeds, oil, drum heads, drumsticks, and mallets. Finally, we outfit your players in auxiliary and shoes, spats, and gloves that match our precise custom drills. Got band? If so, then Block Band's got you. Check blockbandmusic.com or call us at 919-698-2560. That's blockbandmusic.com, 919-698-2560. Are you thinking of tying the knot, having a party, or celebrating that special time in your life? To capture these special moments, call Liquid Effects Photography and take advantage of our 10 years of quality and experience. Liquid Effects Photography covers most of the Midwestern U.S. and will travel even farther on request. Call us at 773-454-5556. That's 773-454-5556. Or check out our website, liquideffects.com. That's LIQUIDEFFEX.com. Come experience the uniqueness of Liquid Effects Photography. Is your credit score keeping you from buying a home, a car, starting a business, or getting a job? Is your score keeping you from living the life you want? Well, look no further than Universal Credit Sources. UCS can help with charge-offs, collections, late payments, bankruptcy, foreclosure, debt settlement, tax liens, and more. Our program is affordable with results in as little as 40 days. Call now for your free 10-minute consultation with Senior Credit Analyst and Loan Officer Angie B. Call her direct line at 469-362-9904. That's 469-362-9904. Or check out the website at universalcreditsources.com. Universal Credit Sources for anything that's hurting your credit score. Are you ready for this year's College Battle of the Bands? Well, look no further than the 90 Degree Show, brought to you by the Marching Podcast. Every Sunday during the college football season at 8 p.m. Eastern, we recap the most intriguing battles of the weekend and give you, the listener, an opportunity to voice your opinion on the battle by calling into the show and talking with our panelists. Check us out on Sundays at 8 p.m. Eastern at blogtalkradio.com/marchingpodcast. The 90 Degree Show, the world's first and only interactive HBCU band podcast show.
All right, we're back and ready to chop it up with Curtis. Again, if you would like to call in at the conclusion of the interview, you can call the number that you see there on the screen at 718-664-6025. We'll go ahead and chop it up with Curtis. You know, we apologize for the difference of the audio levels. I'm not a recording engineer, but as the more the interviews I do, the better I'm getting. So in the future, you know, we have discovered a new application that actually helps us with the sound quality. But we're going to go ahead and get the rest of these interviews. I've done so many that, I'm going to go ahead and, put these out on the web. And as the show grows, I'm sure that things will get better. But so without further ado, let's go ahead and chop it up now with Curtis Tarver. All right, you are now live with us at the Marching Podcast, and we're chopping it up today with Curtis Tarver. How you doing today, Curtis?
I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm doing well. I really appreciate your time, and I really appreciate you being on the show today. Curtis Tarver is the owner and founder of 80 Minutes of Regulation, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But really excited to have you on the show, man. I've looked at what you've been doing on Twitter and on Facebook. I really appreciate it. So let's get into it. Curtis, where are you from?
I am originally from Wilmington, Delaware. That's where I grew up, and I am currently living in Greensboro, North Carolina. Okay, Delaware. It's funny you say that. I had never heard of Delaware, just growing up. But my father, he's an Alpha, and his fraternity brother, one of his good friends, guy that looked like Shaggy from Scooby-Doo, he actually lived in Delaware, and it was beautiful, man. We actually went up the East Coast. I think I was in 6th grade, and Delaware is really, really nice. I have a good friend. It's funny. His name is Curtis, too, and he lives in Delaware, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful area, man. Yeah, definitely. Definitely enjoyed it. Not there currently, but always have love for my home state.
Now, what city in Delaware are you from?
I'm from Wilmington.
Oh, that's right. Okay, Wilmington. Okay. Yeah, when I heard Wilmington, I automatically think of North Carolina. So I got it now. Wilmington, Delaware. Now, are your parents from that area?
Not originally. My parents, my father grew up in New York State, Poughkeepsie, New York, and my mom grew up in D.C. They met in college in Boston, and then finally settled in Delaware. So that's sort of the quick picture of how my family ended up there.
Okay, all right, that's all right. Now, where did you go to high school in Delaware?
I went to Alexis I. DuPont High School.
Okay, now, what was your first exposure to the show-style bands? Because I know Delaware, it's not known for bands, So what would you say was your first exposure to the show-style marching?
Well, I look at show-style marching, and so let me talk a little bit about how I marched. First of all, again, went to Alexis I. DuPont High School. Our marching band there, actually, our band director was from Michigan. So we marched, it was, a high-step style, a crowd-pleasing style, but really more closer to how they marched in the Big Ten than to really a true HBCU show style. So, It kind of set us, we were different than the other bands in our area, but not necessarily in the HBCU tradition. I would say probably my first real exposure would be Delaware's lone HBCU is Delaware State University. They're down in Dover, and we did a Newcastle County Band Festival each year, and always one of the big colleges in the area was showcased. So it was off at University of Delaware. My junior year of high school, it was with Del State, the showcase there, the Approaching Storm, which actually many friends of mine went on to march in. But so one of the things that was really cool there at the time, I was in charge of the cymbals at AI, and we had, so again, while we weren't necessarily a show-style band, we were definitely flashy. We had some dance moves and everything. And so it was really gratifying from where I was to see, just having seen Del State and them do their thing, and, they definitely are a great marching band, and seeing them do their thing, and really their symbol line was kind of giving us props as we were coming off the field. So I'd say that was really my first exposure, and, kind of went on from there to see what was out there in the greater HBCU world.
That's pretty cool, because that friend that I was telling you about, Curtis, his wife actually works at Delaware State. So that I was definitely going to try to tie that in as far as, Now, how far is Dover from Wilmington?
It is, it's about half a state away, but we're not that big of a state. So depending on how fast you drive up, probably about an hour or so.
Okay, right. So you guys had that exposure. I can't remember the immediate analysis on Delaware State we did this year, but it's a good band. I remember. I know I was pleased at some of the things I saw, But that's really, really cool that, that it's cool that you have the HBCU there and you have that exposure from high school. Michigan is a good program, too. I know that a lot of the patterns of motions that a lot of the black colleges use, were patented from some things they saw at Michigan.
Yeah, I would say really, and I think Michigan absolutely, and then, Ohio State and a lot of the other bands in the Big Ten, I think that there's almost sort of a gradient where you go from kind of the true core style bands and then, come through what I consider the traditional style that they're marching, and then, kind of on the other end you have, the truly show style that HBCUs are doing as well. Yeah,
because I think I saw Wisconsin this year, and they have like this prancing type of step.
Yes, that leg lift is crazy in Wisconsin.
Yeah, and I looked at it, and it's definitely it's unique. But I was thinking, man, that seems difficult to play, because it looks like that horse type of movement, So trying to play an instrument, I'm sure that's difficult. But that's really cool that you have that exposure. You really got both exposures. You know what I mean? So where did you end up going to college?
I went to college at the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, UMBC, which is interesting because looking back on my experience, if I would have realized, leaving high school, how important it was for marching band to be part of my life, I never would have ended up at UMBC. We actually did not have a football team and did not have a marching band, so I did pep bands throughout my college years.
Oh, okay. Now, why did you pick the University of Maryland? And let's say, did you have a specific memory that made you pick that school?
For me, it was really, just kind of as I was looking at colleges, looking at kind of all that was out there, I wanted to sort of get away, but not too far away.
Right.
UMBC is probably about an hour and a half, a little bit less from where I grew up. So, I left the state. The financial aid and scholarship package was competitive, so that was a piece of it as well. And just that there's always that feeling, when you go on campus and go on a campus tour, it just feels right. And so that's really what it was for me at UMBC. Right.
Yeah, I think you talked to a couple of people here just chopping it up, and that's what they said. Like it just fit them. I mean, you never can explain it, but it's just where you're supposed to be. Now, when you were there, you said you answered my next question. I was going to say that you participated in ensembles, so you were in the pep band. You guys had a basketball team?
Yes, I was in pep band. We played primarily for the basketball team, but for obvious reasons, we did not march. Although my senior year, we did actually add some. We played primarily from drum set, but we did add field drums, so we were actually mobile, and we have so we did a little bit of marching, just like homecoming parade and some small things there.
Okay, now what instrument did you play?
I am a drummer.
Oh.
So in pep band, I was primarily on drum set, and then there were a couple others, so we would switch off. I'd do auxiliary percussion and some of those things as well. But and then throughout high school, a couple years on cymbals, and then I would play quads as well.
Okay, a percussionist. So that's what's up, man. What was your major when you were there at University of Maryland?
I majored in psychology and minored in music.
Okay, so what did you have certain aspirations of working in the professional field with that major?
At the time, I really, was sort of, I knew that's what I liked and what I wanted to major in. I knew at the point that I'd probably look to go on to graduate school, but I didn't necessarily know precisely what career it was going to lead to. Now, what I ended up with is my graduate degree is in student affairs. Through my experience at UMBC in undergrad, that was kind of what led me to the profession of student affairs. So I ended up going to South Florida for grad school.
Okay, so you went to grad school. Now, what was the school? Is University of South Florida?
Yeah, University of South Florida, which is in Tampa.
Okay, right. That's the new. They have a D1 football program now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. It's all coming to me now. After you finished grad school, where did you go from there?
After grad school, that's when I first landed here in Greensboro. Carolina, fresh out of grad school, and I've been here ever since.
Okay. And what is that position that you work there in Greensboro?
I work at the University of North Carolina at Greensboro, and so I am in our Office of Campus Activities program. I work with our student organizations on campus and working with events that they're putting on, as well as just recognition and registration of those student groups.
That's what's up, man. I always love college administrators, man. You know, my mother was one growing up, so it's always a good thing being a college administrator. Now, how far? Now you're in Greensboro. How far are you from North Carolina A&T?
We're right in the same city. In fact, my commute to work and my commute over to A&T would probably be right around the same time.
Oh wow.
Yep, right across town from them.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I bring them up because, you know, they were one of the big schools from the past competition in the Honda Battle of the Bands. They had a really good performance. So definitely, I always think of that. And also, my grandmother actually went to Bennett. So, yeah. So,
right across town as well.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's what's up, man. Now, we got you on here because I was really excited to talk to you about 80 minutes of regulation. You talked about how did you start 80 minutes of regulation? Like, how did it come into existence?
For me, it was really kind of putting a couple of things together. So, back when, I know you talked to Christine Katzman from Halftime Magazine.
Yeah.
So back when they first launched, they actually had sort of a social thing that they had where, you know, individual readers or members could put up a blog about, you know, just their marching experiences and that sort of thing. So I did that, and at the same time, I was ESPN had just started sort of one of their social things, and so I was talking about some sports things over there. We're talking about some marching things over on the Halftime Magazine blog, and so at some point I was like, you know, I've really just kind of gotten into the habit of both of them, and thought, okay, let me go ahead and kind of combine these, and that's kind of how 80 minutes of regulation came into being.
Okay, now what year was that?
That was, I probably started in both the separate areas in 2007. It was in 2008, and actually I looked back because I was like, how long have I been doing this anyway? Actually, the 5-year anniversary is actually tomorrow when I first started 80 minutes of regulation.
Oh, congratulations, man. Congratulations. I definitely hit you up on Facebook about that. Now, what exactly, for the people who have never heard of 80 minutes of regulation, what is the service that you provide for them?
Sure thing. Well, let me, I guess, start by explaining what the title means. So 80 minutes of regulation, if you think about, you know, college football game, NFL game, what have you, you know, the game is 60 minutes of regulation. But to me, of course, I'm talking, you know, marching and athletic music as well. So
yes.
To me, halftime is important. That's another 20 minutes. So that's kind of how I came up with the title, 80 minutes of regulation. And so I use the tagline from referee's whistle to drum major's whistle and back again, because it's really my belief. You know, I know I've heard people get into arguments. You know, marching band is a sport, it isn't a sport, and my personal belief is, while it is definitely athletic, there's no denying that. I wouldn't call it a sport, but at the same time, I would say that because of its nature, it can be, and my belief is it should be spoken about sort of in the same manner and in the same place.
Oh, okay.
So that's what I do with 80 minutes of regulation. You know, so you'll at any given time you'll see me talking. You know, whether it's football or basketball or marching band, pep band, drum corps. I talk a little bit of all of them, and I think one of the things that you know, if I may humbly say, one of the things that perhaps sets me apart or that I do the best is, you know, I will then draw comparisons between things that are going on in the marching world versus things that are going on in the sports world.
That's actually a really good explanation of what you're doing. I actually retweeted an article, really, really good article that you wrote about. I wanted to throw this in right quick before we start to talk about your most memorable and what's frustrating with 80 minutes. But could you talk about that article that you tweeted out, just I guess for a little flavor of, like, you know, what people could get a taste of when reading your page?
Sure thing. Well, I know the article that you had retweeted was about, I had written a recent article just a couple of days old now about the fact that currently in Drum Corps International, which of course is the governing body for most of the drum corps 7 of the top corps who are, I guess, unhappy is the word, and are seeking to kind of change the landscape of the manner in which drum corps operates. And I called it suggestion versus secession, because it's like, okay, so are they just suggesting the change here, or are they really talking about, potentially taking their ball and going home, picking up and sort of creating a separate association? And so the parallel that I drew there is, as I mentioned, I'm a South Florida alum. We play in the Big East Conference. And if you follow sports, you know that the Big East recently has undergone all sorts of turmoil in terms of, schools leaving for other conferences. There is a group of, interestingly enough, also 7 schools, the 7 Catholic schools that play basketball but do not play big-time football in the conference, have just done something similar, have announced that they're going to be leaving the conference. So I really draw a parallel between those two things in that, you take some of the perhaps most visible, perhaps most revered programs, whether it be in drum corps or in the Big East, and, them deciding that because of what they see to be either instability or just being ineffective, they either want to sort of change what the picture is, or perhaps they're going to, up and leave. So that's kind of the parallel I drew between those two organizations. And I think I appreciate you bringing up that article, because that honestly probably is, in a nutshell, very indicative of the sort of things I do in 80 minutes of regulation.
Yeah, I mean, it's because it was really, really good, and I was like, man, this is really, really put together really well. Definitely the parallels drawn. I'm experiencing that now just in the Southern California area, where I thought there was a lot more show style, influence, but there's not at all. And it's, a lot of drum and bugle corps out here. But, just the high school experience, it's just a lot different from what we know back east. And I was right on, especially also, too, I didn't know so much this Southern California area. There's a lot of conservative type of thinking. So there's also the same type of secession talk in here, in just a couple of counties right next to me, where people want to secede from the state, So it just all rolled into one. Just a really excellent article, man. Is there anything that's frustrating, or is there a bad part of 80 minutes of regulation?
I would say my primary frustration, and it's not a huge one to me, my thought is, I enjoy writing. I enjoy, talking about both things and, the parallel between. Kind of the frustration is probably anybody on the internet. There's a whole lot of voices out there. And so, would I like more people following me? Sure. Would I do it if there wasn't a single other person listening? Absolutely. But, one of the things I find is, whether it's on Twitter or something that I write in the blogs or whatnot, I'm both being humble or being realistic. I think, I make some pretty good points, and I just wish, there were more folks hearing them sometimes.
Right. Well, definitely, that's why I hope that, we get your name out here with this. That's why I wanted to do the interview with you. Just the people that I've met, you guys have had an effect on me so much where I feel like I want to help you guys get your name out there. So I definitely hope, more people will catch on to this. What has been your most memorable experience so far with 80 minutes of regulation?
I would say probably one of the things that I put out there that got the most burn, and it wasn't controversial necessarily, but it was sort of, I think I kind of stepped up and showed that there are people doing what I'm doing, what you're doing, what Halftime or Marching Roundtable are doing, and really know the marching arts spectrum and can talk about it. And I think there are some other folks out there who may dabble or may not know it all. So there was an article that posted on Huffington Post and basically they were saying the top, it was the top 10 marching bands of 2012, and it was, if anybody's reading the blog and wants to search the post, it was called The Call Out, because it was my belief that it was really just kind of lazily written. They took probably just some of the top programs that are out there in any given year. They mentioned Michigan, they mentioned Ohio State. Interestingly enough, that year, they mentioned Florida A&M, which, of course, the Marching 100 at that time we're going through, was shortly thereafter the death of Mr. Robert Champion.
Right.
And, was, like I said, I believe it was kind of lazily written because they were putting forth some folks who were top bands year in and year out. So there were no real markers on, this is what the band landscape was in 2012, and I called them on it. And I got a lot of people who sort of linked from that article and came over and saw it. And I was proud of that because, like I said, I think it's really sort of a different thing that we're doing. Like I said, the entities that I mentioned, yourself, me, Marching Roundtable, Band 2, there's a lot of folks out there that I sort of consider to be like the marching media, who I think really know and can speak to what's going on out there in the marching world. And, so it's interesting to have somebody else who perhaps has a platform but doesn't necessarily know what they're talking about.
Yeah, because, it's definitely something that's out there, but it's not as thoroughly covered as sports. When
right.
My main experience when my father went to Jackson State, my mother went to Spelman, so they made sure I was exposed to, black college bands and stuff like that. But in St. Louis, there was no band influence at all. They just got the Capital City Classic, I think, like in the late 90s, but just overall, just speaking from the entire nation, band is the halftime show where you go and, do other things to rest for the next half of the football game, But I definitely think that there is a craft. We are out here, like you say, the marching media, but it's definitely important that the information is accurate that's out there, because there are a lot of kids that are going to college based on, our craft and our field, and I think it's making a difference just because, we're putting educated college professionals in the world, you know what I mean? So I definitely think it should be done as taking as much effort to report as with other things. So I'm really glad that you did that. That's actually a really cool story that you actually, were able to call them out on it. I definitely have to get that information so I could read the article, because it sounds like, they just threw Florida A&M in there. But definitely there's a lot more bands to reckon with. So we're getting towards the end of the interview. Do you have any future plans or any upcoming events with 80 Minutes of Regulation that people need to know about?
For me, no real future plans, I wouldn't say. I would, I guess, highlight some of the series I do. Now, I write and I talk year-round, and, right now, we've switched out of marching band to I'm more talking pep band and basketball. After that, it'll be, moving on. And so I don't follow baseball that much. I do follow college lacrosse, so I talk some of that.
Oh, wow, okay.
Moving on into drum corps season. But there are a couple of sort of series that I do on a regular basis. And so, from there, like I do what's called high notes, which is in any given week of the marching season, this is just basically based on watching TV. So a lot of it, some of it's HBCU bands, a lot of it is, perhaps top 25 bands or some of those things. And so I mention, some of the bands that I can hear shine in the stands. And again, that's just from what I can hear on TV. Another big one being what I call Band on the Road. I actually, during the summer, do my best to comb through calendars and whatnot of marching bands to see what bands are going to be making road trips, and whether that's HBCUs going to classics or, SEC bands that are going to be visiting their fellow conference mates or things like that. I try and keep up with what bands are going to be on the road. So those are kind of a couple of the things that will definitely be coming up when football season rolls back around.
All right. Well, hey, man, I'm really excited for you. How can the listener get involved, and how can we all support you?
Sure thing. Well, the website itself, again, 80 Minutes of Regulation, is 80minutesofregulation.com. You can find me on Twitter. I love to connect with folks over there. It's at 80MINS. I'm also on Facebook and on Google+. You can search 80 Minutes of Regulation in either of those places. And while I'm not doing a whole ton with it yet, I actually do have a YouTube channel. That's actually 80 Minutes spelled out. So it's EIGHTYMINUTES. So you can find me on there as well. Got just a handful of videos, but that, again, stretches drum corps to HBCU and everything in between.
All right. All right, man. Well, I really appreciate meeting you and really talking to you. I definitely will be talking to more because, I really would like to start creating college scholarships and also scholarships for DCI so we can enable more kids with these experiences. So I really appreciate you, Curtis, man, and just excited to talk to you about the future, man.
Absolutely. I appreciate you having me on.
Okay. We're back live. It was great to talk to Curtis, and we appreciate his time that he lent us out for the interview. We're opening the lineup for now for some calls. If anyone wants to call in at 718-664-6025. While we're waiting on those calls, we'll go ahead and hear from our sponsors one last time. If you're interested in becoming a sponsor for the show, please contact the show, and we will give you the criteria so we can start to pub your business using our platform. We will play your commercial, we will post your website on our blog, and we will help send out information through our social media resources. So contact us so we can build your business. Let's go ahead and hear from those sponsors, and like I said, you're free to call, and we'll put you in the queue for afterwards. Thank you.
Is your credit score keeping you from buying a home, a car, starting a business, or getting a job? Is your score keeping you from living the life you want? Well, look no further than Universal Credit Sources. UCS can help with charge-offs, collections, late payments, bankruptcy, foreclosure, debt settlement, tax liens, and more. Our program is affordable with results in as little as 40 days. Call now for your free 10-minute consultation with Senior Credit Analyst and Loan Officer Angie B. Call her direct line at 469-362-9904. That's 469-362-9904. Or check out the website at universalcreditsources.com. Universal Credit Sources for anything that's hurting your credit score. Are you thinking of tying the knot, having a party, or celebrating that special time in your life? To capture these special moments, call Liquid Effects Photography and take advantage of our 10 years of quality and experience. Liquid Effects Photography covers most of the Midwestern U.S. and will travel even farther on request. Call us at 773-454-5556. That's 773-454-5556. Or check out our website, liquideffects.com. That's LIQUIDEFFEX.com. Come experience the uniqueness of Liquid Effects Photography. Block Band is a minority-owned music business that you can think of as your assistant band director. We help grow your musicians with a great selection of traditional concert band music. Then we back up their performance with necessities like reeds, oil, drum heads, drumsticks, and mallets. Finally, we outfit your players in auxiliary and shoes, spats, and gloves that match our precise custom drills. Got band? If so, then Block Band's got you. Check blockbandmusic.com or call us at 919-698-2560. That's blockbandmusic.com, 919-698-2560. Attention high school directors and alumni. Does your band need to raise money to travel, buy instruments, or uniforms? Are you looking to raise money to help your band? Well, Big Deal Fundraising is rapidly becoming one of the largest distributors of fundraising products in the industry. Big Deal is based in New York City and ships anywhere in the United States, offering quality products, fast delivery, and innovative consultation that will help you meet your fundraising goals. Call today at 855-244-4430 or visit us at BigDealFundraisingUSA.com. Big Deal Fundraising, your fundraising partner for your band or music ensemble. What if there was a Facebook for bands? Wait a minute, there is. Bandhead.org. Bandhead.org is a social network for HBCU show bands. You can create your own profile and post videos, photos, and comments on Bandhead.org. Need somewhere to post events, audition schedules, job postings? Check out bandhead.org. Are you recruiting for talent? Go to bandhead.org. And coming this fall, HBCUbands.com. Write that down, HBCUbands.com. Are you ready for this year's College Battle of the Bands? Are you ready for some in-depth analysis on your school's band and dialogue about the battles they're fighting? Well, look no further than the 90 Degree Show, brought to you by the Marching Podcast and Blog Talk Radio. Every Sunday during the college football season at 8 p.m. Eastern, we recap the most intriguing battles of the weekend and give you, the listener, an opportunity to voice your opinion on the battle by calling into the show and talking with our panelists. Are you ready for the only interactive show in the world for HBCU marching bands? Then check us out Sundays at 8 p.m. Eastern at blogtalkradio.com/marchingpodcast. That's Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern at blogtalkradio.com/marchingpodcast. The 90 Degree Show, the world's first and only interactive HBCU band podcast show.
All right. We have a couple minutes left, and we'll leave the lines open for anyone that wants to call in. Again, that's 718-664-6025, 718-664-6025. I appreciate all the love and all the support that we're getting out there. Again, if you want to donate anything to the network, you can go to our website at www.themarchingpodcast.com. You'll see the donate button there on the right, and you can click on that and donate to help build our scholarship fund and to help improve the show. So it doesn't look like we're going to have any calls. I'm just now realizing the game is on. That's basketball, and I think the hockey game is on tonight too. So we'll probably make sure that this is a podcast, and we'll go ahead and wrap up the show. But we really appreciate for all the listeners out there and all the people that take the time out to check out the podcast. You know, we've got a lot of good feedback, and you know, I really do believe in the show. So we'll go ahead and keep enlightening and keep the focus on building scholarships and building our world a better place. I'm not trying to get rich off what I'm doing here, but definitely trying to make a difference in this world. So, like I said, check out the website and donate what's in your heart to themarchingpodcast.com. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. Thanks to you for listening. And remember, the eye is a better pupil and more willing than the ear. Advice may be misleading, but examples are always clear. See you next time.